What's up, disciplined investor?
We got Benzinga CEO Jason Raznick here with us.
The man, the myth, the legend, Tom Nash.
Peter Schiff on the Power Hour with us live today.
Interesting, different, unique, innovative companies.
Mia, you are live with us on the Power Hour. What's up?
Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Jessica Billingsley, that is the CEO of Akerna.
The best trade idea resource out there.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Zinger Nation Power Hour. How are we doing?
This isn't my show.
No, Spencer, this is not pre-market prep. This is the Power Hour.
What am I doing here? Why am I here, AB?
You are helping me out because Luke is at the dentist today. Raz is
with the dentist with this guy. Oh,
I know.
man.
Raz is at the dentist with him, making sure that everything goes smoothly. But we have a packed show today. So at 12:10, Nargis from Twitter is going to be joining us. You guys might follow her. Her handle is Nargis007. She's great with technical analysis. We're going to be looking at some great stocks today between Tesla, Apple, AMD, I believe. So real excited about that. Spencer, what have you been watching today?
Same thing I watch every day now. Watching, as I've said, for being on stream for 3 hours this morning. Watching China, watching OLB, because we'll have the CEO on the show in about 25 minutes or so. I'll be talking to him. Yeah, watching AMC, only because how can you not? It's AMC. Even on a quiet day for AMC, it's down 5%. Watching tech super weak today into the big tech earnings print, right? You got here, let's go across the board here. So tonight you got Apple, Alphabet, and Microsoft. So we got Apple down 2% today. We got Alphabet down, Alphabet down 2% today. Microsoft down 1.5% today. So big tech weak into the big earnings is what I'm watching. What are you watching, my friend?
I was watching Tesla's price action today after the earnings last night. Tesla reported good earnings, and yet the stock is kind of trading down today. So I think that's interesting. Some other things that I'm watching are, of course, Apple with the earnings, as you mentioned, coming out today. Apple seems like it always crushes earnings, but the last couple of times, even though the company reported good earnings, the stock traded off a little bit. But today it's actually trading down into earnings, which is atypical. Usually there's a little pop right before earnings. So I think definitely this will be one to watch after hours today.
Let me throw in a plug for not our platform, if I can. There's I'm always curious how a stock moves into and out of earnings. And there's one site that I found that tracks that data. And that site is marketchameleon.com. It's a platform really for options trading is who it's for, right? For people trading options and looking to plan out their trades and find options ideas. But they do track historical stock patterns into and out of an earnings report. So if I can pull it up for a second on my screen and then look at Apple here, I can tell you this. Going back the last 3 years, the last 12 quarters, Apple opens on average 1.5% higher the day after its earnings report. So Apple always reports in the afternoon. So on the day after, at the open, on average in the last 3 years, Apple opens higher by 1.5%. That's important. Something else Market Chameleon shows me, and they show me the performance of Apple in every stock 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, and 2 weeks after an earnings report. Okay. Again, this is going back the last 3 years. And going back the last 3 years, Apple is higher more often than not 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, and 2 weeks after it reports earnings. It is basically flat on average in the day, the entire day, the entire next day after its report. So I'm like, by tomorrow's close, on average, in the aggregate, it is flat, going back to the last 3 years. That being said, the last 3 quarters, April, or the last 3 reports, April, January, October, the last 3 reports, Apple has closed lower the day after its earnings report, the one day after. It has also closed lower in the 2 days after its earnings report in each of the last 2 quarters. And it is closed lower in the 3 days after an earnings report in the last 2 quarters as well. So the last 2 quarters have been weak. The reaction has been weak for Apple in the last 2 quarters. But going back the last 3 years, historically, Apple, on average, will trade higher in the 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, and 2 week periods after a report. And I can do the same thing for Microsoft and Google if you want. But I like that that tracking. I'll put the link in chat. Ready? This is a plug for not our site.
Yeah, and then Spencer, I think it was 2 quarters ago when we had great earnings from essentially all the big tech companies, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, and the stocks didn't really. I think it was because investors were already kind of pricing in great earnings for all those companies. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here with the different big earnings that we have this week, because something similar happened last night when Tesla beat earnings. But you could argue that some of that was priced in because now the stock is, of course, trading down, regardless of the earnings that Tesla reported. I think Apple here, I mean, look, you can play it a couple different ways. Like if you wanted to play some just out of the money calls, if you think Apple's going to crush earnings, but stuff like that is so risky, Spencer.
Yeah, I would never do that unless I literally was okay with burning my money. Right? Like if I literally just wanted to gamble and nothing more. You walk into the casino, you throw all your money on black. That's basically what that is. What out of the money calls are. Especially weekly. I wouldn't do that. Well, let's go look before we bring on our first guest. Let's just go look at the other 2 real fast. So Microsoft, I'll do that next. Microsoft, same story. It is more likely to close higher. 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, and 2 weeks after reports. It's actually way more likely to close higher 2 weeks after the report. So going back the last 3 years, Microsoft closes higher. Has closed higher 10 of the last 12 quarters in the 2 weeks after its earnings report. Now, the last quarter was one of those 2 where it didn't, right? But going back at least the last 3 years, Microsoft is a 10 out of 12 chance of closing higher in the 2 week period after earnings. Same story with the 1 week period. If you look at 1 week after its report, 9 of the last 12 quarters, Microsoft has closed higher.
And real quick, back to Apple. Bill Big D in the chat is saying that he's hopefully that Kadir is correct that Apple goes up after earnings today, but he hopes that it stays below 156. So Bill, let us know in the chat how you're playing that. Are you selling calls at 156? I think that's an interesting play.
And let's just do Google real fast since I'm here, and I'll bring up the chart so we can look at it in Pro while I do that. So Goog. Going back, okay, this is interesting. Google's a crapshoot. Google, there's really no real trend. Google is really just as likely to close higher as it is to close lower, pretty much across the board. 1 day out, 2 days out, 3 days out, 1 week out, and 2 weeks out. No real discernible trend, other than to say in each of the last 3 quarters, or each of the last 3 reports. So April, February, and October of last year. In each of those 3, Google did close higher more often than not. But if you go back the last 3 years, there's really no discernible trend. So based on very, very recent history, the last 3 quarters, Google has traded higher after its report. But that trend has only been there for 3 quarters, so it's not a very long trend. So I would keep that in mind with regards to Google. Historically, going back the last 3 years, relatively weak, but the last 3 quarters relatively strong after earnings. The one exception, I guess, was last report in April. In the 2 week period, Google fell 6% in the 2 weeks after its report. So wow. That's sort of the outlier there. But that was just last quarter. So no real discernible pattern to speak of in Google. Not as likely as Microsoft and Apple to trade higher after its report. Do we have our first guest here, AB?
We do, and Bill Big D says in the chat that he sold 2 calls at 155 for $1 at the open. So Bill, yeah, good luck with that. Let us know tomorrow how that trade works out. But yeah, Spencer, let's go ahead and get to our first guest. Nargis, welcome back on the Power Hour. How we doing?
Hello, good morning. Hi.
Good morning. Where are you joining us from?
From Bay Area, California, Silicon Valley.
California.
Are you
to all the techs.
are you staying away? How bad is the air out there? The air quality?
It's good. So far, we haven't seen any touch wood, any fires, or at least close to home.
Good. Well, I hope it stays that way.
Yeah, I know.
So I know, Nargis, we've got a few big stocks to talk about today. We wanted to bring you back on because you always give us good insight when it comes to charts and technical analysis. So with that being said, if you have a screen to share and you have some charts you want to show us, then please do.
Yeah, so I just clicked the share button below, right? What you have?
Yep.
Okay, share screen. Okay. Okay. So can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yep.
Oops.
Okay. So
We got Google. We got SPAC.
I know. I was just looking at it since you just mentioned it, and I just heard you talking about it, right?
Yeah.
So this is the monthly chart of Google, and it is a nice parabola here, right? Going up, and so far not a good retracement yet. So I was looking at 2709. What was the high? Almost 2700, like less than 20 points remaining. I was looking at 2709 to see if it shows a reaction there to some overbought conditions, and either it is flattish or pulls back. Else we would see 2800 on it. So that was my take, and it's pretty extended on the monthly chart. So for now, my line in the sand is 2709 or 2601. So let's see what it does there. But I do think generally Google is known for crapping the next day. So, we never know.
Well, yeah, I mean, as I just said, going back at least the last 3 years, the last 3 quarters, Google has been okay after it's, in the immediate aftermath. But going back the last 3 years, it really is just as likely. It's just as likely to close higher as it is to close lower. So
yes, yeah. Later on, yes, it does that. But immediate reactions are generally, whatever it does, it tends to reverse the next day. But let's see if, for everyone's sake, who is long on Google stays this way.
Sure.
So this is the SPY. I don't know if you guys follow me on my analysis. I was looking for the S&P, the ES future or the XPX to reach 4489, which was my price cycle target, with 100% being at 45.97. Okay, so we are almost into 40. We did, what was the high? 43.17 now. So almost 50 points or less remaining on that one to get my price cycle number reached. But the offset numbers, which is in a range from 43.57, so the lower numbers are already met. And yesterday, a few days ago, I was tweeting and talking about SPY 441. And the good thing about this is that this 441, I have noticed or observed along the lines, is it's a very high vibration number. Every stock which comes to this number, I forget whether if it's Mars or Mercury, it gives a reaction. It will at least give a reaction. It will at least give a reaction on that point, and then later on settle, wherever it wants to go. So yesterday they closed SPY right at 441. The high was 44103, and the market closed right there. And today we got a gap down, and it's pulling back again. For now, the characteristics which this shows is, whatever dip it gets, if it gets a dip, there is a sharp recovery. It's always a sharp recovery, and it keeps on going without adjusting the smaller time frames. It doesn't adjust the time frames until it gets exhausted. It runs on the mountain to the point it gets exhausted, and it cannot reach the peak or run anymore, and then it cracks. So what happens is, on the smaller time frame, the price is so extended from its means or averages that the pullback looks a little deeper than what the market or the people are used to seeing, right? Because mentally we have been trained to only go up. If at all there is a pullback, like today, I'm sure everyone out there, all the news agencies, everyone would be screaming bloodbaths.
Well, wait. What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that people have a low tolerance for pain, or people are a little bit jumpy?
Yes, they are, because everyone is so super long and so super bullish in their attitudes that even a little pullback, flutters. It causes a little bit of pain, because we are generally not used to seeing pullbacks, right? But what I'm trying to say here is, when the price is continuously going up without a decent pullback, even on a smaller time frame, then expect a little deeper pullback on a single day. What I'm trying to say here is,
oops. Sorry, that was me. Keep going.
Yeah. So when there is no decent pullback on a smaller time frame on a regular basis, then expect a little deeper pullback, one day. So in one day, it will just throw off 50 points. S&P will just throw off 50 points. And which should be normal, because it went up 100 points, just like that. So what I'm trying to say is, just get mentally used to these extreme moves. We keep going up bigger, and then we come down a little bit, if not that scale, a little bit bigger, at least 1/4 or 50% of that. And that should be okay, in my opinion, unless and until it breaches a level and now it turns bearish. So far, things are still okay. It is still balancing for me. And I just took a long on SPY. So let's see. So right now I'm talking to you guys. So later on we will see. But I'm expecting it to find support right here, and there's a tiny gap here, 435, 50, 70. Yeah, 435, 70. It may get it done, filled it up, and by that time it would be ready to go up. Probably right here, go up, retest the high. Now two things can happen. This was just a balancing, and it cooled off, the pressure is off, and then it will go back up. And go back to new highs, because that a few numbers are pending. Or if it fails somewhere here without taking out the high, then probably come down a little bit more to the next support. For now, it's still all okay, unless and until on a daily basis or on a weekly basis we are closing much lower. Currently, this trend line this green one is being held. So as long as this is being held, we are okay. And the moment it breaches or it closes below a certain low, like this was a good low from past few days, if it closes below this, then we know there is some bearishness which is entering. But up till now, so far it's all good. But again, our monthly is again extended. 10-day is where is 391, and we are at 440s. So 40-point gap on a monthly. It's still better than before. Yeah. So tell me, what are the ticker you guys want to talk? Or
well,
Go.
David Owen says bulls need to grow some spine to quit crying like wussies. Look, it's tough, right? Because like you get the S&P, which we're down today, but we're still basically at all-time highs, more or less, right? And
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's totally balancing.
Right, but the market breadth is pretty terrible out there. There's a lot of stocks that are down 50-60% from February and March, right, and late January. So it's tough out there. So okay, we got a question for you. For Mohammed to look at AMD, and they report tonight as well.
AMD, okay. So this is a monthly chart, and AMD, it's 89. So I think this AMD has been hovering around 81 to 91. So technically a 10-point range. On a daily basis, it would be lesser. So looks like it is still ranging on this monthly, possibly a bull flag. Need to be above at least 93ish to go towards 100. And
hold on, it needs to be 93 for what? For you to be interested?
To break out.
Okay.
And of course, if you want to go long, then you need to avoid this noise, especially if you're an option player, right? Otherwise, it becomes very difficult to make money on the options because the theta decay these days is so high that in a single day, let's say today, there was some selling, your calls would be, down massively. So I wouldn't want to play in such a tight range until either it breaks out on a daily basis. Also, see, it's just ranging. So the best case you could do in terms of trading is buy somewhere around here and then see what it does here, either exit or book profits or do something with it. But it needs to settle out of here. I do have a target 101 on this one, but so far it is not able to take out this. The high was 94ish, I think, right? Yeah, 95. So yeah, it didn't hold though. So it goes up until this higher range, 94, 95, but not being able to settle as such. Will it do that during the earning? It's possible, because at least the monthly chart is kind of stabilized. If at all our S&P finds or the Nasdaq finds support and the volatility is out, I do expect it to make another high or new highs, because my number on it is still pending. Now, it doesn't mean that it has to hit that number. Some percentage around it is also doable. So for all practical purposes, did I meet my S&P target as of now? Yes, it did. Now we just wait on to see what it wants to do around this area in order to decide its next path. But looks like, this is just my theory. I'm not sure if I'm going to be right or not on this. I'm expecting once it reaches, let's say, hypothetically, it reaches 4489, or it even does that excess 4597, the 100% retrace from 2174 low, then it shows a reaction and it dumps a few hundred points. Then after that, let's say it does a big melt up, because 500 is a very good and even number. So let's say SPY wants to do 500, because at 450, it does seem in between, let's say. And according to my observation, SPY or XPX, they like to do some whole numbers like, 4,000 or 500 or something like that. So if it does 500, so that will be the euphoria melt up, that would be like something like 2018 or 2020, where everyone would be saying, oh my God, you're not in the stock market. Are you crazy? So that kind of a thing I want to see. That's when I would start taking protection and protecting my portfolio and this, because right now there's still fear. People are still fearing, what's going to happen, the rate and the Fed and this and that, and all that noise is still there, which is making people a little bit cautious. So a bigger rug pull may or may not happen. But if there is good euphoria, and people are really into, buy Bitcoin, buy S&P, the stocks are going to move. The growth stocks, actually, what you have said is right. They haven't moved. They need to move. Unless and until they also move and jumps along with the market, that fear will not go away. So it needs to bring all the money on the table, and then probably we may see a good shave off.
Well, there's always, isn't there? There's always something, right? Whether it's a trade war or a fiscal cliff or Greece sovereign debt or whatever. There's always something, right? It's never there's never not fear in the market. So it just so happens that right now we're talking about inflation and maybe a Delta variant resurgence, but like there's always something, right? So
and the way I look at it is that once my not my actually but once the market reaches a certain price cycle where it is looking for, then automatically I see some incidents start creeping in, some bigger news, some bigger incident, some event creeping in. So the way I look at it is these things are not the cause but the effect, which shows up to justify, okay, what's happened. Now, any natural calamities, keeping aside any natural calamities, that's a different story. But for now, I just look at, like yesterday, the market closed at 441, and we were very close to, as it was getting over 440, I posted my numbers, and the people who follow me very closely, we took short on SPY, some puts, and some call credit spreads and everything. And luckily, it did what it was supposed to do, shaving down nicely since almost to the support now, SPX 75, because that was the ES overnight low. And we exited our puts, and I did a little bit of reversal trade, buying the SPY calls. So just looking at this price action, so far it looks what it's supposed to do. So now, if people are trying to go, oh my God, it's there, and people are trying to go short now, then the question would be, what's in it for you at this point, right? So that's the question which generally you always need to ask is, where do I go short or where do I go long? Now, price was at an all-time high and it closed at an all-time high. Would that be a good place to go short? No, I mean, if you see that way, it's not a good place to go short. But why did I go short? Because I'm following my numbers and my cycles, and it did look that it would be a good place. And XPX and SPY,
right.
they both. He has done.
Nargis, I want to give you one more before we let you go, and only because it's a crazy one today. But AJ is asking about ATVI. This thing is just made a new low for the day. There's a headline out there that they're facing a lawsuit. They've halted production on one of their largest games. So I know when news is in play, technicals go out the window. That being said, do you have a level for us in Activision?
Yes.
Yes. Excellent.
Just give me a second. The high was what? 80, 90, 103, right? So from 103, it has been puking, and
yep.
Yeah. So this was the breakout point around 80, 82, 83 here. So this is the area which it needs to hold. Else it may have a deeper pullback. So this was its breakout.
How far back can it pull is, I guess, the question.
Okay. This is your next support. 70.
70?
Breach this. And you see this black line? The black line is pointing to 87. As long as it's below 87 on a weekly basis, it will be weak. So it may do this, find support here, go back up, and then do this. Okay. So kind of a bear flag and do this. Or if it goes back up and, then it will do some retracement up on the daily to do the oversold conditions, come back here, test, fail, and then do this, and then come down. So that's one path. But this zone is the support zone for it. But below this black line, 87, it will be weak. And let's see, your monthly will tell you what it's doing. See this? It's coming down to 80. Yeah. So this area, 80, around 80, that's a good support, because your weekly and your monthly is showing a confluence of support. And generally these supports do hold at least for a short time, if nothing more. They may do a bear flag kind of an action, but this generally holds support, because you have to understand daily has been moving again with momentum and without good pullback. This was the breakout. It broke out, and now here it's doing the retest of the breakout. If this retest of the breakout holds, then you're good. It'll move back up, do something. If still have a pending target, then it'll move up. But if not, then it may come down a little bit lower, more, to find the next level. But within this, it should hold. I'm betting this should hold at least short term.
Okay.
Around 80, I think, 1 or 2 points here and there. Based on this line, yeah, 82 to 79, it should hold.
Okay. You can follow Nargis on Twitter at Nargis007. Link is in the description. Nargis, thanks so much for the time.
Yeah, nice seeing you guys.
All right.
Yeah, thank you for coming on today, Nargis. We'll get you back on for some more technical analysis. And I know we didn't get to all the stocks we were going to today. So if you want to check out some of the other ones, go to Nargis's Twitter, tweet at her the stocks that you want to see, and you'll be able to see on her Twitter.
Thanks a lot, Nargis. All right. 12:33. So you're saying that. Let's bring on our next guest here. Ronny Yakov, the CEO of OLB Group. Ticker is OLB. There is the chart. We broke the headline this morning. They made an acquisition. They bought a portfolio of CBD merchants that will that have $300 million in annual sales volume. So let's talk about the company with the CEO, Ronny Yakov. Ronny. Mission. Whoa. Don't know what that was about. Let's try that again. Take two, Ronny. Am I good to go here? Mission. No. Okay.
Let's.
I don't know what's going on there with Ronny's computer.
Ronny, maybe try closing out the tab and then rejoining through the link, and we'll give it another go.
Yeah, that's a new one. I've never heard that before. I don't think his computer was trying to tell him something.
I don't know about you, Spencer, but I'm jealous of how well Nargis is able to go through the charts and kind of get an understanding. I need to learn some of those technicals a little bit.
Take three here, Ronny. Let's try this again. Mission. All right, I threw him on mute. I threw your mic on mute just now. I'm not sure what's going on there. Ronny, what I'm gonna have you do, actually, I'll have AB help you out. AB, see if you can talk to Ronny in the private chat on the right hand side there. See if you guys can figure that out in the background. In the meantime, what I wanted to do is check in on ATVI. Right, we just had Nargis talk about it. Lows of the day. This thing is getting just absolutely crushed today. I did not see this one coming. You saw some selling pressure at the open. You thought, okay, a lawsuit. I didn't realize at the time that they'd apparently halted production. I don't even know if that's official, but I guess one of their senior engineers said they halted production on World of Warcraft. That started making the rounds. So this thing is getting absolutely crushed today, down almost 9%, and just made a new low of the day a few minutes ago. You never want to short a stock making new highs. Or buy stock making new lows. And at least for the day, Activision making new lows. You got to go down all the way to a weekly chart to find any sort of support here. We're at the low of the year in ATVI. Brutal stuff. And what's the other one? Workday. These are two losers of the day here. Workday down 7%. So look, at least this one is, see, this is interesting now. The Activision hasn't stopped going down. Workday is forming a base. Stopped going down. We have a series of 15-minute closes, right? All within the same area. That's a level to lean on. To what is it? 222? No, 220. I don't know. Anywhere in this window. Anywhere in this 220 to 222 window, right? You at least have a level to lean on. Tell them to use Chrome 5. Tell them to get out the glow sticks. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and Spencer, the Activision thing to me, it kind of shows that you can be like too early on a trade. I remember the first time I saw news about that there'd be a potential lawsuit from the employees based on how the company was treating employees and stuff. And it was back about 5 or 6 months ago. And I was like, it seemed like a good short at the time, but the stock continued to kind of hang out there. And then now finally it's dropping. So it's like, just because you see a news story doesn't mean the stock is always going to react off that.
Yeah, no, that's the name of the game. Is I talked about that earlier as well, being early versus being right.
All right, let's go give another try. Let's get over to Ronny, CEO of OLB.
Yes,
Hey guys.
Ronny, Yakov, we got you.
There we go.
How we doing,
guys?
How we doing today?
We're doing great. We're very excited to announce this letter of intent today. We are working on this acquisition quite a while, and it's extremely profitable opportunity here.
So first, before we get into that, explain what OLB Group does, because you guys are like a payments platform, right?
Yes, we're a fintech company that is focusing on products and services. Those products and services are coming from a platform that's e-commerce and omni-commerce solutions that a merchant practically can have a website, it can have a point of sale system in his store, and he can walk in and run a transaction with his iPhone. We have also Secure Pay, that's the payment gateway. The payment gateway is similar to any other payment gateway like authorized.net. So we run the transactions, and every transaction that comes to our system is connected directly to Visa and MasterCard. We have also CrowdPay, that is a crowdfunding platform as well.
So I'm trying to understand exactly what this is. Are we talking about like when you go to a business and like is this the software? Is it the hardware? Is this
it's the software, and we do our core business is software.
Okay.
We have fintech solutions, and we do custom-made solutions for small merchants. For example, we build a ticket system for baseball stadiums. And when you get to the baseball stadium, you can get to the concession stand, pay with the same applications, and go to the merchandise and buy them. So with this one, we're just integrating now the NFTs, so people can transfer tickets between each other. We have also events. That events is practically the execution arm of the company. And at events, we pretty much underwrite the merchants, we monitor them, giving them customer support, and monitor the risk.
So I'm interested about the headline today is that you made an acquisition, that essentially acquiring a portfolio of CBD merchants. This is interesting because, as I'm sure you are well aware, and many of our listeners or viewers may be aware as well, the regulatory landscape for cannabis companies in the U.S. is very complicated, and at least for dispensaries, any plant touching company is not allowed really to use any banking services at all. They have to deal in cash, right? So what exactly did you buy here?
We bought already existing merchants, that those merchants are already running CBD transactions. They're approved by the banks. So pretty much we took over the entire portfolio of merchants. This portfolio also is growing by the existing channels with around 75 new merchants every month. It's also extremely profitable for us because there's no additional personnel that we have to add. We have already the existing personnel in place.
So this is CBD. So this is not like plant touching, right?
Correct. Correct.
Okay, so I guess that's the big difference. Is these are merchants that already operate within the legal framework.
Yes, and they've been already vetted by the banks. It's a pretty lengthy process, and it's on a yearly basis. It's been monitored by the banks and the regulators.
So would a company like yours? I'm just trying to understand here. Would a company like OLB Group, would you be the ones that could help make it easier to, for example, transact in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency?
Yes, and that's something that over the next few weeks we're going to talk in detail, because we're expanding tremendously towards the digital currencies and digital transactions. We already announced a few weeks ago that we have some merchants that would be accepting cryptocurrencies. So, for example, if you walk in, you'll be able to pay with your crypto wallet.
And that's live now, you said?
Yes, we have the system already working on accepting bitcoins.
Okay, so it's not
bitcoins, Ethereum, yes.
So it is live for the merchants,
Yes.
for your customers.
Yes.
So is this like is it up to the individual business to be like, we want to,
yes,
we have the capability, or do they have to like turn it on, or what?
Yes, so there is additional process that have to be vetted, but since we are the underwriter of those merchants, we have majority of those things, so it's save a big step of underwriting them.
Can you explain more about what makes paying with crypto so complicated?
Well, I mean, people have to conceptually get used to it. You know, it's a process. It would take, I believe, a couple of years that it would become a standard. It's in early stage today. So.
What kind of regulation does a company like yours, who's facilitating crypto transactions, what sort of regulatory purview does that fall under, if anything?
Well, at the moment, we are doing it through third parties.
Okay.
And again, we're going to announce very shortly that we're planning to have a bit license for that, and we're planning pretty much to handle everything in-house. So it's a process, and we're going to apply also for money transmission between states.
So I would imagine somebody in your position is generally bearish on the use of cash, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't have even $100 in my wallet.
You think it's, when do you have a timeline? When do you think we will like wean ourselves off of cash?
Well, I mean, still there is people that would need the cash.
Yeah.
I just came back from Europe, and people like to deal with cash more in Europe. They pay everything. So
interesting how different cultures. I mean, I'm the same way as you, and I just put threw like $100 in my car for like emergencies, but like I don't carry cash on me ever. And when I do, I feel rich because I never have it on me, so I can just spend it right away. But yeah, so a company like yours, which is making it easier for small businesses to
So we're focused on cashless, contactless transactions.
I'm curious what the last year and a half was like for you. Obviously, the pandemic was a nudge to all the businesses that hadn't yet found some sort of alternative payment method and were relying on cash, which a lot of small businesses do, right? So the pandemic kind of nudged them into the cashless direction. I'm just curious what the last year and a half was like for your business.
Sure. So initially, our revenues dropped by 1/3, and very quickly we balanced, and we balanced in a very high way because it was difficult to convince merchants to have e-commerce and online orders and websites. And they start calling us and asking us how quickly we can be online and start selling. So that was almost like very quick education for them to start to be to do the omnicommerce solution. So on the omnicommerce solution, once you're connected with the inventory, so the order online and the order in the store, they sync together. So definitely, it was very positive. I mean, unfortunate, but the pandemic hurt everybody. But we feel strong about our outcome.
Will you disclose? I presume in the next quarterly report the financial terms of this deal.
On the coming thing, not until it's definitive agreement. At the moment, it's a non-binding LOI. So once we close.
The key legality differences, right? LOI versus there we go. That's an important distinction.
Yes.
Okay. Ron with Ronny Yakov, the CEO of OLB Group. Ronny, any just final thoughts regarding like secular trends in your industry or for your business, going forward?
Well, as I mentioned, we're definitely going to move forward most towards the digital currencies. And just to mention, comparing to some of our peers, we're trading on a very low valuations. We're trading around 4x a multiple of sales, comparing to companies like Paya, i3 Vertical, Shift4, they're trading 7 to 10 times revenues. So there's a great opportunity taking this acquisition that would be bring us to revenues of around $25 million with a $3.5 million in additional EBITDA to comparing to what we have now. So it's 360% bump in the EBITDA.
All right, Ronny Yakov is CEO of OLB Group, ticker on the screen, OLB. Ronny, glad we can get the microphone situation figured out. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, sir.
All right. 12:47, 13 minutes until Get Technical with Neil Hamilton, running through charts and doing whatever the hell Neil does on his show, which, frankly, I don't even know what it is half the time.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's always a toss-up what's going to happen on Get Technical. Maybe you'll see someone in a rat suit today. Who knows?
Would that somebody be you or Neil?
Who knows? Tune in to find out.
All right. I've got my scanner tool open on Benzinga Pro, looking for gainers, looking for losers, looking for stocks moving in the last 5 minutes. Nothing jumping out to me right now. Sorry, there's a couple questions that I didn't see in the chat. I apologize. Somebody asked about Google and Amazon, right? Is that what they said? Google and what they say
about Amazon and Google earnings? Yeah, I mean,
well, Amazon's on Thursday. Amazon Thursday. Let's go to the chart.
I expect all the big tech stocks, their earnings to be good, but it just doesn't necessarily mean that then the stocks are going to move upward off those good earnings. We've seen it before. We'll see it again. I mean, it's a crapshoot to guess whether the company is going to beat or underperform earnings. But then you also have, will the stock move up or down on it? And it's kind of based into what's already expected. So in this last quarter, Amazon is already expected to have, very high revenue, good growth numbers. So we'll see. I mean, I think it would take a lot for Amazon's numbers to be bad for the stock to sell off a lot. But
well, if I can go back to the site I was using earlier in the show, marketchameleon.com. I did put the link in the chat. This is not a paid promo. I'm mentioning it because I think their earnings data is good. They track how stocks behave into and out of earnings. So, for example, into earnings, because Amazon is still 2 days away, Amazon almost always trades higher into earnings. 2 days prior to its report, it trades higher, and this is going back the last 3 years. But in the 2 days prior to its report, going back the last 3 years, Amazon trades higher 2/3 of the time by an average of 1.7%. In the 1 day prior to its report, Amazon trades higher 10 out of 12 times by an average of 1.3%. So it is almost always trending higher into the number. Out of the number is a little bit more dicey. Amazon typically trades lower. It trades lower basically 2 out of 3 times in the 1 day period, in the one full trading day period after its report. So that would be measuring Amazon from Thursday's close to Friday's close. And in that 1 day, going back the last 3 years, it trades down 2 out of 3 times by an average of 1%. Kind of the same story in the 2 days out. And the same story in the 3 days out. 3 days out, it's more flat. But in the immediate term, going back the last 3 years, Amazon is more likely than not to close higher the day into its report and close lower the day after its report. That's the takeaway from this data on Amazon. So
yeah, it's really good info to know. Always good to look at what's happened in the past to try to help us determine what could potentially happen in the future. Corey's asking a great question about, are there any earnings coming up for brokers? So we've talked about different brokerage stocks on this show before. Luke gave his pitch that more people are trading stocks than ever before, so earnings could be very strong for different brokerages.
Forget earnings for a second. If you're looking at brokers, why not talk about Robinhood? The IPO on Thursday. Robinhood's going to IPO on Thursday under the ticker HOOD. It's probably going to be the most interesting IPO that we've had in the market, I think maybe since Facebook, which was 2014. I think Facebook's 2014. Yeah, Facebook was 2012. Excuse me.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it was a couple years earlier than that.
But I can't remember an IPO that is this interesting, this big in terms of market dynamics, in terms of storylines. There's so many storylines with this thing. So there's that. If you're interested in the brokers, have that on your radar. I'm sure we'll talk about that at length on Thursday. You asked about the brokers, though. Schwab already reported. We already got that. There really aren't many because there was so much consolidation, right? Because Morgan Stanley bought E-Trade, right? Schwab bought TD Ameritrade. That leaves us with Schwab.
What about the trade desk? Is that a brokerage?
No, it is not. That leaves us with Interactive Brokers.
Tiger, TIGR.
That's a Chinese broker. I don't know if I would venture there right now.
Down 13% today. Wow.
Well, it's because it's China. So in terms of the U.S., you really only have two, publicly traded broker dealers, right? You got Schwab, you got IBKR. Those are the two. And that's for like stocks. Obviously, for crypto, there's more, right? We got Coinbase, we got Voyager. But there's been so much consolidation in the space. One proxy you can use for the broker space is Virtue Financial, because they're a high frequency trader. And they're a market maker. So when trading volume increases, they make more money. When trading volume decreases, they make less money. You can use this as a proxy, but there really isn't much on the brokerage front. The big thing is probably just going to be a HOOD. I'm watching HOOD for Thursday, right? We have no data because it didn't even IPO yet, but so many implications for this. This is basically going to be a proxy, I think, for retail sentiment, similarly to how we use Coinbase as a proxy more or less for Bitcoin sentiment. Maybe not, because it's too soon to tell because we only have a couple months of history on Coinbase, but I have a hunch that going forward, we will use Robinhood and the performance of Robinhood as a proxy for, the retail trader is strong, or the retail trader is not, the retail trader is active, the retail trader is not, right? So very, very interesting. And plus they're allocating like a lot of their float to retail, to their own users, which is so interesting. This is basically going to be an amalgam of like traditional brokerage stock and social media app, right? Because it's kind of both. And so when it comes down to the social media apps, we always think about active users, right? Daily active users, monthly active users. I have a hunch that Robinhood will be measured along those same lines. It's people are going to want to know, what are the DAUs? What are the MAUs? Robinhood, they had their virtual roadshow on Sunday. I watched it, and they said that half, I think the stat was half of their users, I tweeted this out, half of their users access the app every day. I think that was the stat. It's on my Twitter account. That's insane, right? That's madness.
It's crazy. I mean, I think when you were talking about different IPOs that have like the magnitude of Facebook, I mean, the Coinbase one was pretty huge, but I think Robinhood will be bigger from a standpoint of just how much attention the stock is getting. Of course, there are many, many people out there that want to short Robinhood once it's publicly traded. So we shall see what happens there.
And then Chris Kachi reminded me, because I never seem to remember that what these SPACs are doing, but FTCV is gonna go public, or is gonna merge with eToro. So on the crypto exchange front, and it's so interesting, right? So this is a SPAC, so it's gonna move with SPACs, but with regards to Coinbase specifically, and even Voyager, which is VRGVF, right? No, it's not Voyager. This is Voyager. VYGVF, right? There we go. In theory, these stocks should be moving higher the more volatile crypto is, right? Because volatility or downward action begets volatility, which begets trading. And these things, if they're a broker, they should be making more money when activity increases. So I guess what these charts are saying is like volume in cryptocurrencies is going down. But in theory, if volume goes up regardless of the price, then these things should go with it. But they have not been going. The Coinbase IPO may have been like the topping event in crypto. It's got a long way to go. How high did it get on the IPO day? It got to 429. Oh, it's got a long way to go to get there. It can do it, but it might take a while. Anyway, that's my brokerage talk. Back to the scanner. What's moving? Nothing really. Okay, AB, why don't you hop off and get ready for get technical?
Sounds good. We'll be live in 3 minutes.
All right. Oh, and I forgot about SoFi. Thanks, Chris. How can I forget? I'm long and strong. And
NSTB is another SPAC looking to take Apex Clearinghouse public.
Right. So you do have these like neo, I don't want to call them, I guess they are neo banks. These newer companies that are trying to just basically encroach, take over financial services. So that could mean anything. It could mean lending. It could mean brokerages, trading, investing. Could be banking, right? SoFi, has the brokerage. You can invest through SoFi, but they do so much more than that. I'm long and strong from like 21. I'm getting pounded here. But this, I know what this is for me. This is a long-term position. I'm not really going to sweat this. This is a small part of my portfolio. And I remain a long-term believer. Now, if they don't get a banking charter, and as I understand it, that hasn't been decided yet. But if they don't get that, then I maybe have to reassess. But long and strong SoFi, we're making new lows here. If you're looking at me to tell you what to do, I would say don't, because I am not selling. So yeah, if you can't take the pain, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. On SoFi, I can take the heat. Right? You got to know when you can take it and when you can't. DraftKings, I could not take it. I got out after a $0.50. $0.50 loss. SoFi is a different kind of position for me. I can take the heat, right? Wow. I don't like to look at this stock too often, because the more I look at it, this is what happens. I look at it and then I get in my head, I gotta get this off my screen. Get that off my screen. Go anywhere else. SPY. Anywhere else. No pain, no gain. That's right. It'll be all the more sweeter when SoFi goes to 100. I don't know if that's going to happen. Oh, on that same neobank front, Square, right? Square just announced their banking thing. Man, maybe I only bought SoFi because I know that I missed out on Square. Maybe this whole thing is a psychological revenge trade I didn't know about. Let's not get into that. All right, it's 1 o'clock. Get Technical is starting right now. Neil Hamilton doing Neil Hamilton things. So please remember, all the information from our show is meant to be used as informational purposes, not for investing or trading advice. Thanks to both our guests today, Nargis and the CEO of OLB Group, Ronny Yakov. Thanks to all of you. Smash the like button, guys. How many likes are we at here? 51. Oh, brutal. Thank God Jason and Luke are on here, because they would kill me if they saw that number. I hope Luke is back from the dentist tomorrow, but if he's not, then suppose I'll be back. All right, 1 o'clock. I'm done. Power hour, or not power hour. Get Technical starting right now.